The Poetic Line, Podcast 3, Emotional Resonance Through Line Structure. Welcome back to the Poetry of J.P. I am your host, J.P., and today we're diving into how the structure of a poetic line can evoke powerful emotions and set the tone of a poem. How do poets create mood with just a few words? Let's explore. The role of line length in emotion. One of the most direct ways a poet can influence the reader's emotions is through the length of their lines. Short lines can create a sense of urgency or tension, while longer lines might evoke calmness or contemplation. Take this example from Emily Dickinson's Because I Could Not Stop for Death. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. The first line is longer, creating a sense of breathless urgency. Dickinson is describing something unstoppable, death itself. The shorter lines that follow reflect the measured pace of the carriage ride, the inevitability of the journey. The contrast between long and short lines helps create a feeling of tension and inevitability. Analysis of line length and emotion. We've talked about how line length can evoke different emotions, but let's dive a little deeper into how poets use this technique in varied contexts. For example, in Sylvia Plath's poem Daddy, the shorter staccato lines create a sense of urgency and intensity that mirror the emotional turmoil she's expressing. Each line feels like a sharp intake of breath, contributing to the overall sense of claustrophobia and confrontation. Daddy, I have to kill you. You died before I had time, marble heavy, bag full of God, ghastly statue with one gray toe, big as Frisco seal. Contrast this with the work of someone like Pablo Neruda, whose long, flowing lines in poems like Walking Around create a sense of expansiveness and introspection. The length of the lines allows the reader to linger over each word, reflecting the depth of emotion and the weariness of the speaker. It so happens that I'm sick of being a man, and it happens that I walk into tailor shops and movie houses, dried up, waterproof like a swan made of felt, navigating on a water of origin and ash. The smell of barbershops makes me break into hoarse sobs. The only thing I want is to lie still like stones or wool. The only thing I want is to see no more stores, no gardens, no more goods, no spectacles, no elevators. By understanding these contrasts, we can see how line length isn't just a structural choice, but a powerful tool for shaping the emotional landscape of a poem. It allows poets to manipulate the pacing and flow, guiding the reader through the poem in a way that enhances the emotional impact. Short and long sounds in poetry. But it's not just the length of the lines that matter. The sounds within those lines, whether they're short and crisp or long and resonant, can also deeply affect the reader's emotional response. For instance, short, sharp sounds can create a sense of urgency or tension. Imagine the crack of a whip or the snap of a twig. These sounds are quick, immediate, and they grab your attention. Poets can use this effect in their lines to convey similar feelings. Consider the lines from Ginsberg's Howl. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix, angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo and the machinery of night, whose poverty and tatters and hollowed-eyed and high sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats floating across the tops of cities, contemplating jazz. On the other hand, long flowing sounds can evoke serenity or contemplation. Take these lines from the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions which a minute will reverse. Here the longer sounds, dare, universe, decisions, revisions, slow the pace, reflecting the character's hesitation and deep introspection. It's a marked contrast to the shorter, more decisive sounds, creating a dynamic rhythm that draws the reader into the speaker's inner turmoil. Additional sound patterns in poetry. We have touched on the impact of short and long sounds in poetry, but let's explore this concept further. For instance, in Gerald Manley Hopkins' poem, The Wind Hoverer, Hopkins uses what he called sprung rhythm to mimic the natural rhythms of speech, while still maintaining a musical quality. The combination of long vowels and chipped consonants creates a dynamic rhythm that mirrors the flight of birds. I caught this morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein a whippling wing, in his ecstasy, then off forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind, my heart in hiding, stirred for a bird, the achieve of the mastery of the thing. In contrast, listen to the way Gwendolyn Brooks uses sound in her poem, We Real Cool. The short, chipped sounds throughout the poem give it a jazz-like rhythm, which reflects the defiant tone of the young men in the poem. The repetition of the we at the beginning of each line, paired with the brevity of the lines themselves, creates a sense of urgency and rebellion. We real cool, we left school, we lurk late, we strike straight, we sing sin, we thin grin, we jazz June, we die soon. These examples show how poets can use sound to add layers of meaning and emotion to their work. It's not just what the words say, it's how they sound and how they're delivered that can transform a poem from a simple narrative into a rich emotional experience. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with something practical. The next time you read or write a poem, pay close attention to the line lengths and sounds. Notice how they influence your reading experience or the emotions that you're trying to convey. Try experimenting with different line lengths in your writing. Take a line and break it in various ways, or focus on the sound within your lines. How does changing the rhythm or length alter the mood or impact of the poem? By actively engaging with these elements, you can deepen your appreciation of poetry and enhance your own writing. Poetry isn't just about what's said, it's about how it's said, and the mechanics of the line are key to that. As we've seen, the structure of a line and the sounds within it are powerful tools for conveying emotion in poetry. Whether a line is long or short, or filled with sharp or flowing sounds, these choices can shape how we feel when we read a poem. In our next episode, we'll take a closer look at rhyme and rhythm and how they interplay with the poetic line to create musicality that resonates deeply. Make sure you stay tuned. Thanks for listening to the Poetry of J.P. If today's episode sparked your interest, please share it with friends and fellow poetry lovers. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It really helps. Join me next time as we explore the dance of rhyme and rhythm in poetry.
or